I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC welterweight contender Jorge Masvidal gives his prediction for Khamzat Chimaev's UFC career. UFC welterweight Jorge Masvidal has once again taken aim at Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev, who boasts an undefeated 12-0 record in MMA, now occupies the number 3 spot on the 170-pound welterweight ladder in the UFC welterweight division, appeared on track to a title fight following a victory over Gilbert Burns last year. Chimaev appeared to affirm as much following the crowning of Leon Edwards in August of last year. Congratulations at Leon Edwards. See you soon, is what Chimaev said last August 2022. Just weeks later, though, a mammoth weight miss for Chimaev's scheduled main event fight versus Nate Diaz at UFC. Was that 279, 280? I think it was 279. Poured a heavy dose of water on the championship fire and even threw Chimaev's future into the welterweight division into question. That what we're talking about was Nate Diaz and Chimaev was scheduled for the main event at UFC 279, and I believe Chimaev ended up showing up. It was a welterweight fight, scheduled welterweight fight, and Chimaev ended up showing up at 178 pounds, 179 pounds. I know he missed weight by a lot and ended up fighting Kevin Holland on the co-main event at a catchweight fight. So the fight versus Nate Diaz actually never happened. Since then, Chimaev has maintained his focus on UFC Gold, including callouts of the current UFC middleweight champion Alex Pereira, having previously criticized Chimaev for that. Jorge Masvidal's latest rant against Chimaev has seen him provide a surprising prediction for Chimaev's future. Masvidal foresees a quick MMA exit for Chimaev. During a recent interview with Sporting News, Masvidal once again slammed Chimaev for his missing weight last September, which led to the UFC 279 main event being significant, or main card being significantly reshuffled. I think 3 fights ended up changing, right? After also making note of Chimaev's frequent trash talk and past retirement owing to a nasty bout. Well, that wasn't really, it wasn't really too big. Jorge Gamebred Masvidal predicted that Chimaev won't be around the MMA space for much longer. That guy, Chimaev's not even fighting. This new style of fighter, it's beyond me. You just go on Instagram and talk a lot of stuff. Masvidal said every interview, all he ever says is, I'm gangster this, gangster that. Gangsters make weight and compete, because before you're a gangster, you're a man. The least you could do is 1, not do steroids, and 2, make weight. Not accusing him of doing steroids, which wouldn't, what are we doing? Oh boy, which wouldn't surprise me anyway, but excuse me. But if anybody is doing steroids and not making weight, you're not a fighter. Masvidal continue. Get out of here. Talk is cheap. He already retired at one point because he caught corona or the flu. I'm actually just gonna move on from this. I'm sorry, Masvidal. I can't read that. While Masvidal has his focus on return to reaction this weekend at UFC 287 versus Gilbert Burns, Chimaev also likely has a vested interest in the wide. In addition to Masvidal and Burns contest promising to shake things up atop the welterweight division, Chimaev has long has his sight set on. But what long? I can't. What are we? This article, man. I don't know what's going on. I may end it. Yeah, we have to end it here. Okay, so I'm gonna actually go back to this paragraph that I didn't read because I'm just gonna go over it quick and just go over everything that I just 1,000% totally disagree with. The least you could do, the least you could do is one, not do steroids, and two, not and two, make weight. Respectfully, you just can't throw that out there. Like, I'm not, you know, I don't think it just you just shouldn't throw that out there. You shouldn't throw the steroids out there. Accuse any fighter of using steroids. Can't you get sued for stuff like that? This is why I don't even want to. You know what I'm saying? To accuse someone of using steroids in a sport that's regulated, you have no proof of it. It shouldn't even come out. There's no reason to even talk about steroids. It doesn't even make sense. And then when Masvidal talks about that Chimaev, he already retired at one point because he caught corona or the flu. Man, I don't, the story I heard about that was that, I think from what everyone understood from that story when that happened was that Chimaev did catch corona, and his doctor told him to stop training. Right? It wasn't like he caught corona and he was just like bedridden and he's just like, but he was training after he caught corona, and then he was in a really bad spot. It wasn't like he caught corona and he was just like, corona. Why am I calling it corona? Did I say corona? Caught COVID. Shame on you, man, for making me say corona. But it wasn't like Chimaev caught COVID and, was just bedridden. But from what I understand is that he caught COVID and he kept training. He kept trying to fight through it, kept trying to train through it, and then he got really sick, right? So I just want to move on from those 2 points. Now, this point, you can't disagree with Masvidal on this point. He said, this guy's not even fighting, right? This new style of fighter, it's beyond me. You just go on Instagram/Twitter and talk a lot of trash, Masvidal says. Every interview, I can't disagree with him on that one, right? A lot of fighters, it is a little bit more about Twitter fingers than it is about actually getting in the ring and getting results in fighting people. I wouldn't say that's Chimaev, right? I would say Chimaev, he definitely is less of a Twitter finger person than an actual fighter. There's a lot of fighters who just go on and they clout chase, the latest main event, and, they have no intentions of fighting this person, but the person is trending, so it's a good idea to take a shot at that person while, you can get in the algorithms of Instagram or Twitter. But I don't really think that's Chimaev. So, but we haven't seen Chimaev since UFC 279, where he missed weight versus Nate Diaz. It's 1,000% fair, 1,000,000% fair for Jorge Masvidal, who I don't know if he's ever missed weight in his UFC career, to really, 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 really criticize Chimaev for missing weight for a main event. Things like that you can't do. It's one thing to miss weight, but if you come in 8-9 pounds overweight, you can't say this person didn't try. It could have been some medical emergency stuff, but it is unprofessional, right? You can't. No one could show up to work an hour late and just say, oh, it is, in at your job, you get like a little bit of grace period, which fighters get. They get a grace weight, which is like 1.5 pounds overweight, which is still a lot, right? But if you're 8 pounds overweight, or if you're an hour late, right? There's repercussions to that. And with Chimaev having scheduled a fight, a main event fight, right? Like versus Nate Diaz, that's a terrible look. And we haven't seen Chimaev in the welterweight division. We haven't seen Chimaev fight since last September. I don't know why he hasn't fought since then. We have not gotten a correct answer from anybody. Everybody is saying something different. Chimaev recently said that, a lot of opponents turned him down. We did a story a few days ago on this channel where Robert Whittaker literally said, I have never, ever been offered by the UFC a fight versus Chimaev. And then the UFC, they're not really saying anything, so we don't know why. There's no reason that we know of why Chimaev has literally not been in a fight since last September. And it feels like the next time he does fight, it's going to be late October, right, in Dubai. I'm a little bit surprised about that. I don't understand. We're only here in April, right? Like the start of April, and is it the start of April? Yeah, it's still the start of April. But yeah, there's no reason. I know people are gonna speculate and people want to have theories, but even though I am a MMA casual, I'm 1,000% sure there's no real 100% reason as to why Chimaev has not fought. Is it an injury? Why is it? Why aren't opponents getting contracts to fight him like Kobe Covington? Why didn't he fight Kobe Covington? Why doesn't he fight Bilal Muhammad? Why doesn't he fight Paulo Costa? Why doesn't he fight Robert Whitaker? Why doesn't he fight Sean Strickland? There's not a lack of opponents for Chimaev, right? Chimaev is, a fighter who could fight in the middleweight division, a fighter who could fight in the welterweight division. He could fight Shakov Rakhmonov, right? He could fight Wonder Boy Thompson, right? He could fight Jack Della. There's a lot of fights in the welterweight division that we could see Chimaev, and then almost the entire division in the middleweight division. He could fight Marvin Vettori. He could fight Dracus Duplessis. He could fight Jared Cannonier. I'm an MMA casual, and I know this stuff, right? So I don't know why Chimaev has not fought since last year. But let me know your opinion of this story. Do you agree with Jorge Masvidal that Chimaev's MMA career will most likely end soon? Or do you agree with me that Chimaev's MMA career is most likely going to end later? I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about UFC welterweight contender who will be competing at UFC 287 versus Gilbert Burns. Jorge Masvidal gives a firm prediction for Khamzat Chimaev's career. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.